with such a weekly candle close in the crypto market, how many of you are still thinking about the alt season? Because remember, in 2 weeks' time, the monthly candle is about to close, and it is about to close like this. So what do you really expect the market to do? If there is going to be an alt season, how do you expect that to come into the market? That is going to be something which we will have to look in this video. Say this is a long-term trend line. We talked about it. We broke below that. Good. Now the only possibility for the alts to do something good is when Bitcoin retest this phase. Now it can be just this based on Wyckoff distribution. On a trend and pattern basis, it can be up to here. That's okay. And that duration is all that you have for an alt season. Because after that, whether you're getting rejected from here or you're getting rejected from the top, it is going to be a long-term move or a trend like this to the downside. Yeah, we saw how it happened. Now, if you take individual alts into that analysis, say Solana is one which you can take it. Now, yes, there is only 2 weeks for the monthly. And when you do put that on a monthly, this is now at a place where we talked about a few months back. Yeah, it took 2-3 months more than I expected. But right now, what do you have here? On a monthly, one of the biggest alts, strongest projects as they call it, are showing you head and shoulder at a time when the monthly is breaking below 50 in the RSI. Now, why am I focusing on that 50 too much? Because on a monthly, whenever you have seen, it's easy. You just put that line at 50 and watch. If it's bouncing from that 50, it's okay. If it's breaking that 50, what happens? You see this? Okay, it's easy. I put a vertical line for you. Now, do you see this? What does that mean? The first drop was nothing. It's just something, blah, blah. But the bounce trapped in a lot of people because that was a retracement leg. So from 300, when we dropped, yes, we came below 100. But then we came back up to 250. That trapped a lot of people thinking it was not a bear zone, it's a buy zone. They went in on a buy, on a long-term approach. And that's where they got things wrong. Now, remember, if you take the same in Bitcoin terms to understand what the general market is about to do for a longer period, this is what you're watching. Say when you put this, now it's not only what you saw in Solana. On Bitcoin monthly right now, we haven't even got the monthly close and still you have confirmed this thing here. Does that look okay for you? I mean, it's kind of not the textbook pattern, but it's kind of giving you the clue. You had double tops all the way in its history and it played out the exact same way. You had trend lines in its history and the break of that trend line played out the exact way in each and every cycle. We went through all of that before. Yeah. Now remember, each time when you actually take that break, you got that. That was the top. Yeah. Now once, not twice, you already had the top of that cycle. Yeah. Now, what exactly are you doing here? Did we form a top? Are we doing something similar? Do you expect Bitcoin to go up? Do you expect it to go down? You tested it here for sure in March. I thought it's going to break. My bad luck. But now, after a few more months, it broke to the downside. And that is exactly where you see the price topping off. So the history is rhyming and repeating in itself. Trouble is, not everybody trusts the history. They think they're smarter than the history. Now we'll pick the altcoin market because the arguments for an alt season is still there in the market. So we are like, okay, let's first look at it without any bias. Let's see if we are going up. Let's see the possibility of a bull market here. You're now below this. So the only way you literally can go back up is if you reverse in the very next candle or at least the candle after that. Come back above the trend line. Good. Now, what's the indicators? Kind of, now as they say, they indicate something, right? You're below 50 on a weekly. That's not good. And yeah, you have 2 months, whatever we did on Solana, whatever we did on Bitcoin, you can do the exact same thing here. And it's not only that you can do that here, you can check back in their history about what they did at that time, what was starting at that point. When the MACD crossed to the downside, you just tested the moving average. After that, you started collapsing. Now, that collapse came in when? That is the key argument. When you give up 55 here on altcoin terms, that is where you start doing something bad in terms of price action. Now we are very close to that. I'm like, if this month happens to give up 50, 55 region in monthly RSI terms, it's going to be a panic drop at least to this point in RSI. And that means you're giving up the moving average in price. Does that sound good? For me, it doesn't. If I'm a bull, say I'm a bear, yeah, I saw this liquidity being trapped in 2021. I just extend that. We actually came back up above, took those highs, and immediately got rejected. What do you make of it? Whether you're a pattern guy, whether you're a structure guy, it really doesn't matter whether you follow ICT, SMC, whichever you like. All of them says one thing here. That is trouble. So the only argument here would be if you are going short-term bullish in the market, make sure you have a tight stop loss or a decent stop loss at least, and follow the trend at that time. What do you mean? Yeah. See, I remember in the morning session, I posted few trade alerts, right? Saying, okay, these are looking good. If you would like to trade, this is the stop loss, this is the take profit and all. So think about it. When I posted that, the idea was basically just a 1 hour chart, 30-minute chart kind of thing. You made this low, you fluctuated there for a long period of time, and then you came back below that and you took that supply. So that amount of supply was kicked out and immediately the demand came back in. So the market just balanced itself. Now you didn't come back up to 143. Think about it. Here yesterday when you came back up, you did not take that. You immediately dropped, and that surprised me actually. I was in a buy here. I came up here. There was no reversal signal for sure. And then it dropped immediately. So I had to take a break even. But think about it. This time you're going to come up here. And how would that look like? This is a 30-minute chart. You'll have to move out on a 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour chart to see what it is suggesting you. Say, for example, we take a short-term approach. That's a 4 hour chart in front of you on Solana. Yeah. What do you see here? It actually shows me that it is trying to form a pattern. Now, what do the patterns suggest? Falling wedge. Falling wedge historically shows you potential reversal. And what is the initial target there? That matches very good. Now, why do I say that? Because if you actually put this on a long horizon, say a 3-day chart, daily chart, weekly chart, whichever you like, it's up to you. Macro chart, and then see, okay, the price started dropping from 250. From that 250, we came down here. That's a 47% drop in such an asset. Good. Okay, if I put that and say it's going to just retrace and then go back down, and everything on a macro is bearish, so I don't think it's going to retrace to 0.618. I think it's going to be somewhere close to 0.32. That still is 178. So the argument on a short-term chart for 160 is not bad. It's just the basic retracement. Now, think about it. You go back in history and check, okay, the price actually dropped this much. What did it do? Basic retracement. It didn't go to 0.32. It didn't go to 0.5, 0.618. No golden regions. It just went lower to form a local low. Okay, that's the cycle. Maybe it's different in the previous cycles, yeah? So you go back. You go back and you pick this and you plot it. This is where you are. You came back to 0.32, not 0.5 or 618. So it was not a complete retracement happening at that point, right? Because it turned completely bearish on the macro. Say the next leg, the retracement was here. So that kind of aligns very well with the structure on a short term or the pattern side of the equation when you put the measured move. That looks okay. Good. Now, one of the key arguments which you have to also look at is a macro frame. On a macro frame, you kind of see, okay, this region, for some reason, is acting as a support. Yeah, especially when you are in the distribution region, especially when you haven't dropped big. Like this is the big drop, the capitulation, right? Here you haven't got that. So there can be one leg up, which will bring a lot more buyers into the market. It will trap them and then it will go back down like nuts. Now, what do I mean? Think about it. The first drop in here was 70%. That's big. I'm not saying it's small. But the next one was 84. That was even bigger. Good. So the current drop was what? 47. So if we anticipate a retracement to this point and then put in a 60% drop, it would look what? So bad. Now, stay with me on this. This is a macro chart. Remove all of this short-term things and put a macro trend line. You're going back like last 4-5 years. Do you agree with this? I mean, this is something Bitcoin is showing. This is something the alt market is showing. So I don't think there is any arguments against this. Good. Now, what's the measured move? Say you're super bearish of this market. Then you pick that. Say you're like, no, I just want to be optimistic, but not that much. I'll go a little bit conservative type of thing. Okay, you're saying it's going to drop 92%. That's still a 90% drop. Okay, the breakout was from way here. If I plot that 90%, where do I reach? Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That's $20. Now, I heard people saying, no way it's going to drop to $20. My question is, it formed the stop here in 2021 and then you drop back below to $7.5. Now it made the exact same top. Why wouldn't it come at least till here? Say you're extremely bullish. Still, it's making a higher low. I think there are possibilities it can even go down to this region. If it breaks this support region, boom, you're coming back down here. Now that's when all these exchanges, exchange runs, all these will happen. It should happen. Every cycle that happens. And I think there will still be a lot of cleansing process in this market, where right now you have like 70,000, 100,000 crypto projects. I think a lot of them are going to go bankrupt. So understand what you hold and hold on to the liquid assets in the market, because it's going to turn against you and it's going to turn quickly. You don't want that to happen in this market. If you're holding on to something, believing, okay, that's going to go $5, $10, $100, $1,000, whatever your call is, make it clear. Because if not, the market is going to confuse you, especially if you're on a segment which kind of gives you so much confusion. Yeah. Say right now you think about the privacy segment. There's a lot of different news. There's a lot of different narratives. And where are you? There's a question. You put it on a 3-day and you literally come up here. You check this. Okay, there's a negative divergence, but the prices keep bouncing higher. Why? This is why I posted it. You had a negative divergence on a 3-day chart. Very good. Clear. Crystal. But then what happened? The price kept going up for another leg. Why? Because I believe weekly negative divergence is the most important factor which you have to look at. And a lot of these assets in this cycle, especially Bitcoin, did a retracement or an extension of that. Okay, you got that negative divergence for sure. And then you kept going up one more leg above that, and that trapped in a ton of people. So I believe this asset is going to do that somewhere here. That's okay. From here, you may not have a lot of ROI to the upside, but you're looking most likely for a good opportunity to short. Now, if you're that guy, then, you need to understand it's overbought on a weekly, on a 3-day. So it's extremely buying area. So if you're going to do short, either you have to go spot, meaning X1, or you need decent stop loss, meaning if it actually is going above this and then coming back down, it's okay. You keep it that way. If not, that is the trouble. So for me, I would look at this saying like, okay, it's slowing down, boom. It goes up, come back down. Now you put a short, keeping your stop loss just about this region. Good. So the question is, how much levered should you be? That's a 30% move. If you're 2x, that's 50% of your portfolio gone. So it's better to be on a spot where you don't get that. And then how much will it actually drop for the first leg of capitulation? Basic movement is this. That's 70%. That is 70%. So when 90% drop is going to happen, this asset is still strong. I'm like, that's crazy. That's making a higher low after the bear market after a 90% drop. So the next cycle for this asset looks somewhat huge. Why? I don't know. But it does look like that. Now think about it. If you are actually taking just an extension, it's nowhere near the top. It's blown through. Yeah. Whereas in the last cycle, the same asset, if you put that, you came very close to the top. So this time it's way ahead of its move and the market is trapping people. So you don't want to be in that segment. You want to be at some place where you have decent ROI with limited risk. So keep that in mind and watch the video how many times you want, but understand the macro and micro and the difference between them. And the macro direction is what you want to follow for any position which you want to hold more than 30 days.